A three-star general is under attack today and in the crosshairs of the new Secretary of Defense. Lieutenant General Craig Franklin stepping in to dismiss a jury verdict against this man shown here. This Air Force commander was convicted by jury of sexual assault. The defendant, Lieutenant Colonel James Wilkerson, sorry, this is the man, Wilkerson, he was the defendant. He was convicted in a military court-martial in November after a female house guest accused him of sexually assaulting her. Well, now, this three-star general reversed the jury's verdict, and critics are calling this a case of the old boys network at work. Joining me now, Pete Hegseth. He's CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, and Jay Sekulow, who is Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice. So it's very, I mean, it doesn't happen in civilian court to have a jury reach its verdict and then have some commander step in and say, forget that jury verdict. I wasn't at trial, but I don't like this case. It smells wrong to me. I don't think this guy did it. And that is what happened in this case. Let me start with you, Pete, as the military guy. Military doesn't work the same as civilian courts, so there's a reason for that.
No, it doesn't. Oh, that pesky commander who is charged with reviewing these cases under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And I would urge anyone who's looked at the case seriously to read the 6-page report that this commander released after reviewing the case. He thought long and hard about it, reviewed every document pertaining to the case, and came to the judgment that the conviction from the jury did not there was reasonable doubt, which was the line on this. And as a commander, it is his prerogative, because the military justice system is different than civilian courts. It's not a democracy. There are commanders that make judgments. It was his prerogative to make a call. He thought the jury had made the incorrect decision, and so he acted. So you can take issue with whether he was correct or not. But within the military system, it's the prerogative of commanders to do just that. And for everyone that they might get wrong, if he did get this wrong, there are hundreds and thousands of others that they get right, where they're overturning things and maintaining the good order and discipline in their units.
There is no question that General Franklin had the authority to do this, all right? So let's put that to the side. He had the authority to do it. And our military code of justice, it gives him that authority. Jay, he is under fire because people believe he should not have. Why?
Correct. They say that their review, that he wasn't there, as you mentioned, Megyn, that the Lieutenant General was not there at the proceedings. He did not hear the evidence submitted. And he's basically overturned the panel, almost like a judgment notwithstanding the verdict. A judge can do that, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
In this particular case, the concern was that's being expressed both by Republicans and Democrats. There's a lot of concern on this, is that you have a military code of justice that provided a panel review for a court-martial. That was what was going on in place here. And that decision was made, and then the commander overturned it. Now, there's no question that he has the authority to overturn that decision. The commander has that authority under the Military Code of Justice. Right, there's an attempt now to get that changed. But there's a long-standing tradition of having that authority there, and there's reasons for that. The commander has to make decisions that sometimes are not popular, but he thinks are in the best interest of the individual or the military as a whole. I can't get into the merits of the case because none of us were there. We don't know what evidence. There's supposedly the Lieutenant General reviewed evidence that was not admitted to trial, but no one knows exactly what that evidence actually consisted of. But the fact of the matter is, I think you've got to be careful of undoing an entire system because of one case that
well, and that's what's about to happen, because our defense secretary is now seeking to change the rules for these military criminal justice proceedings. We'll talk about that, and we do know some of the evidence. I want to touch on that right after the break. Don't go away. So Pete Hegseth is back with me now, along with Jay Sekulow. And Pete, so the Secretary of Defense is now, he wants to change this so that a general can't reverse a jury verdict. In this case, the general has come out saying, look, this wasn't an old boys network thing. I reviewed tons of documentation on the case. I couldn't be there as the trial took place in Italy. I was satisfied that there was a reasonable doubt that this woman, it was a she said, because the commander's wife said that this woman was a house guest of theirs, and that the wife threw her out in the middle of the night, and this defendant was saying he never laid a hand on her, and this is completely fabricated.
I think the reason this is an issue, it's a perception issue. The military, the Air Force have had issues with sexual misconduct, sexual assault, and so the merits of the case are less the issue in this, and then there's the perception from the outside, like you said, that there's good old boys network, and somehow a three-star general is in cahoots with a lieutenant colonel. There aren't many three-star generals I know that are going to put their career on the line for a light bird colonel who may or may not have had misconduct. So this is, if you look at the case, this general made 18 points, poured over hours and hours and hours worth of evidence, really agonized over this decision. He doesn't know that he's correct per se, but he believes in the system that requires him to make a judgment call, feels it's an issue of integrity for himself, and if he didn't step out, he'd be doing. So it's an interesting case where a general's sticking his neck out because he thinks he's doing the right thing, but the perceptions on the outside are much different. It's kind of like the women in combat debate we had, Megyn.
Yeah.
It's easy to demagogue from the outside, very complex when you look at the actual issue itself.
Well, here, in the civilian court system, you can have a judge throw out a jury verdict notwithstanding what the jury concluded, but it's usually a judge who watched the whole trial. It's very unusual in this military setting to have the judge do it without having watched the trial, heard the witnesses. In any event, that may change. Gentlemen, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Megyn.
Coming up in moments more on one of our